Welcome one, welcome all to the NFC East Mixtape, a project presented to you in partnership by SB Nations, Blogging the Boys, Bleeding Green Nation, Hawks Haven, and Big Blue View. SB Nation's home for all NFC East content. I am RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys, where we cover the Dallas Cowboys. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation, where they cover the EAGLES Eagles BLG. Happy draft week to you, amigo.
Why are you chanting the Eagles chant? I mean,
I didn't chant. I just spelled.
you,
I think
you
it's the
kind of
dumbest
did it.
thing. Like people think spelling is a chant. Like the Jets have a chant because they spell Jets. That's not just spelling. So like
What's
first
the
graders are
Cowboys
chanting.
thing?
Is that what we're saying?
The Cowboys have a thing? Do they have like a theme song or like a war cry or anything?
No, because they're not pathetic. I mean, they are,
Um,
but like not for that. I mean,
I opening thought at the beginning of the show. Really good episode last week, RJ. Thought by us in terms of the reception too.
great
People
job,
seem to
us.
great job by us, but also really love the listeners stepping up to say they really liked the quadcast of the all NFC East teams being represented. So we'll try to make that happen when we can. I feel like a little bit more often than never. So looking forward to that in the future. And also we talked about condiments. Well, I think off air
Oh,
more
I
so.
threw I threw this. This was a great like talking point for me with a lot of people in my life. Like I threw that around a lot last week.
Same. I've been asking some people too, but
You're welcome, because that was my question. So
I said I stole it
People,
from someone I know.
people that were like, man, this Brandon guy, he's pretty charming based off of your question that was actually my question. So the residual charm is mine.
I was no, full transparency. I said actually this is a question that my podcast co-host asked me, but I don't even know. I don't think we talked about it on air as much. But in any case, I wanted to bring up just a thought that's been on my mind, really important before the draft. I feel like the Takis kind of snack. You like the Takis or no?
Like the little chips. So what you're talking about?
Yeah, like the spicy rolled up tortilla chips flavored. Trader Joe's has a version, not a sponsor. Obviously, the Taki brand is really good. I don't know. I think those are kind of like underrated, and I just think people
Um,
needed to know that.
are you a hot Cheetos person? Is that like you like
I'm
hot
not like
Cheetos?
grossed out by Cheetos. But I don't like seek a Cheeto. Like I can take it or leave it.
There's a great. It's not like the puffy Cheeto, but it's like a baked puffy Cheeto. Like if we're just talking like standard Cheetos. Again, not an ad, but I really enjoy those. But I think it's the
As
same
I pull a
company.
bag of
Um,
Cheetos into frame.
Well,
No.
I think it's the same company. I don't like hot Cheetos because I don't like the crunch. I realize that's
Mm.
the appeal to Cheetos, but that's not my thing. So they again, I think it's the same company. They make they're called hot fries. So it's the same like
Oh
concept.
yeah.
Like those are awesome. I love those.
Okay.
But it's kind of situational. Like and you have to be
Well, yeah.
practical with this kind of stuff. As a different example, recently I went and ate crawfish, and I was wearing my white United States women's national team jersey, and it was like just awful experience. Like I didn't enjoy it whatsoever because
Yeah.
like
That's
when you eat
tough.
crawfish, it's like explosion of juice. And so hot fries are kind of similar because your fingers end up red. And like in our line of work, we're using computer. We're the only people that use computers in
Yeah.
corporate America.
Right.
And so like your fingers are
Corporate.
all like gunky afterwards. Like it's just not a good thing.
I get that, and that is a downside of that kind of snack. Although I will say, you said situational. Takis on the beach, man. I think that just
Oh,
works. It
dude,
really works.
that's like I like them like out by the pool. So like if
Yeah.
it's hot
Right.
outside, that's
Gotta
when
be
they're
outside.
best. Totally
It's hot
agree.
outside. Yeah, you're in a nice, relaxing environment. It's a little bit of spice and flavor. It's great. So everyone this summer, go to the beach, get some Takis if you want. Again, we're not affiliated, but I think you'll have a good time.
Last thing before we get into today's actual episode, two things. One, if you allow me to plug, this video and podcast are dropping on Blogging the Boys and Bleeding Green Nation and Hawks Haven and Big Blue View on Wednesday. But on Tuesday, we had DeMarcus Ware on the Blogging the Boys network, so you can listen to that or watch it on either place. So go check that out. We talked a lot about the 2022 NFL draft, obviously. But the other thing, Brandon, is this is the draft. And so, like I mentioned, our line of work, we're very busy. We're doing a lot of things. What are you eating? Like, what's your plan? What are you going to be eating on Thursday night, Friday night? Because like we're glued to our computers. We're doing all sorts of shows. Everybody go check out the SB Nation NFL show and stuff. So like it has to be quick. It has to be
Yeah.
efficient. But it's also the draft, so you want to have something somewhat special. You know what I mean? So like, what are you doing?
Great question by you.
Thank
You're
you.
on fire recently for the
Just
first
like a
time in
hot
your
fry.
life.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, or a Taki.
Maybe that's your new nickname for me, hot fry. Who knows? I mean,
That's what they called you in high school, right? And to be clear, talk about the Fuego version, which is like I guess the standard. I would say like the red, not because they have the blue. There's the blue Taki too. They're not as good to me, but the Fuego kind. Anyway, so really important question. I remember a couple years ago, I kind of saved like a big meal until after the draft was over. I think that Saturday night, like I wanted to have like a big feast, and I ended up getting from an Indian place in Philly called Tiffin, and that was actually really good. It was just like a nice big way to end the draft. So I don't know if I'm going to do that as much as I feel like I have some things on hand. I have like a Stouffer's baked like a lasagna.
Oh, dude, those are great. Those are great.
I think that could be like 2 meals for me, and just the convenience of it. Like I can cook it probably maybe like Thursday during it, leading up to the evening there, and then I'll just have that for 2 nights. So that's maybe like Thursday and Friday, and I'll kind of just piece together what else I have here. It's really kind of just grab and go. What about you?
I think that I've been trying to lose some weight lately, been on the treadmill, you know what I mean? Been just grinding, but I think I might treat myself. Thank you very much. I look like a hot fry. That's everybody knows that's Brandon's nickname for me. But I'm thinking about a Whataburger, a staple here in the Republic of Texas. They have a sweet and spicy bacon burger. I get without mustard. Ooh. I'm not a mustard guy. I know that was a contentious thing with the condiment discussion. But with a large sweet tea and a large order of fries. So just go all out. Again, it's the draft. You know what I mean? Like it's a cool thing. I'm not like feeling like wings necessarily. And again, that goes back to like
Messy.
My hands. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's my plan. That's how I'm gonna rock.
Awesome.
Okay, so speaking of the draft, this was your idea, a great idea by you. This is just a harmonious episode of the mixtape. You said, and I actually didn't even follow instructions correctly the first time, so I had to do it a second time. Let's do a mock draft. We use the Draft Network's simulation method, simulator. So not an ad, but the Draft Network's awesome. Not that the other simulators aren't awesome. But look, just throwing out kudos left and right. So we each did a simulation, and we each controlled all 4 NFC East teams and we each made the best possible pick that we could for each particular team. Are you ready to begin?
Yeah, so we're like the NFC East commissioner. Like we want to see if that was a real thing. Like we want the best for the NFC East.
We're like the SEC or like the Big 12. Like we're the commissioners of an entire group.
Right. We want the division as a whole to succeed for the standpoint of like we want the ratings and everything to be better. So yeah, we're trying to make every team better.
We are the beast. Okay. So my top 4, since we're going to talk about the Giants pick, Jacksonville. So these were all simulated. Jacksonville took Aiden Hutchinson, who, by the way, on the subject of interviews you can hear on the SB Nation NFL show this week. Wow. We're also going to share that interview on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel as well. But he went to Jacksonville. Did he go there for you?
Trayvon Walker went number 1 in my simulation. So
he went to Detroit in mine. So that's 1 and 2. Aiden went 2, I assume.
Yes.
Okay, so 3 for me was Sauce Gardner, and 4 was Kayvon Thibodeau. Is that?
Okay. Well, okay, so Sauce Gardner for me to the Texans at number 3, but then Evan Neal, the first offensive tackle comes off the board, right above the Giants' first pick.
That makes things complicated because I took Evan Neal for the Giants. I think we've talked about that. That's something Ed talked about during the quadcast. Gotta establish that offensive line. Ed's in love with him. I'm listening to my head coaches and whatnot within my conference as the overall commissioner. Evan Neal was my pick, but you couldn't take him for the Giants.
Right, and that's who I would have taken, to be clear as well. I just think it's close between him and the other guy's name that I can never pronounce, Acom, from Acom,
the North Carolina State.
North Carolina State. But I just think, you're talking about a guy who is 21 years old and played for Alabama. Like, it's just, you can't overthink that to me. like get an Alabama offensive lineman. I think you're going to go right with that. So,
or like an Alabama receiver. Like all of them except Devontae Smith are awesome, right? Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just really a shame to say that about Devontae Smith when it's not true. But obviously, we've talked before too about the Giants, being a real contender to trade down with one of these picks and maybe as the number 5 pick. And obviously we're not doing trades in this draft, just as a little spoiler, but there's a scenario maybe where the offers aren't coming in and they just want to stick and pick. And I think getting an offensive tackle, whether it's Ecom or whether it's Evan Neal, I think those guys are the better bets. Yeah.
I agree. If the Giants walk out of this with a tackle and a future first rounder, I think it's a success. I think if they walk out with a tackle and something, it's a success. Like they just have, if you can draft the first tackle off the board, like I did at least for them, like that's again home run sort of thing. It's unfortunate, but the Giants are really kind of headed in the right direction. So this one is pretty easy. Unfortunately, pretty chalk. Although we did have differing results. So let's see, who did the Panthers take? Because they took Akeem in my mock.
So at number 6, they have Charles Cross going off, who has been connected to the Giants a lot, especially I think if
Right.
they do trade down from 5 and probably going to be on the board there for them at 7 at least. I just want to touch on the Giants offensive line real quick too. So, okay, let's say they add a Evan Neal. I mean, I guess you're having him play right tackle. So you have Andrew Thomas at left tackle and Neal on the right side. Like that's a pretty good bookend, to kind of to fill the interior. Obviously on the inside, not really any mainstays. They signed Mark Lewinsky from the
Right.
Colts. He's kind of just
But it takes time. It's a project.
yeah,
right?
it's like that's a really, and John Feliciano was clearly a placeholder too. But okay, that's a somewhat respectable offensive line now, and obviously a lot of promise moving forward.
You have an NFL quality offensive line. Like that's a massive improvement. And they've been trying to, and like you said, don't overthink it. They've been trying to like reassess and reestablish this offensive line for what, like 10 years at this point. I mean, just so don't overthink it. And that's like, if they walk away with any of these 3, I think it's fine. I think it's fair. You can have your argument. That's kind of what Ed touched on too. Like whichever one you prefer, whatever. It's your Brian Broaddus, who does a great job covering the NFL draft, but has been a Cowboys mainstay forever. Always talks about like it's flavors of ice cream at this point. Like you're picking your favorite. So they're all good. They're all ice cream. So okay. So
Howie Roseman once used that analogy when the Eagles traded up to number 2, and he was like, what do you like, vanilla or chocolate? Or then
Brian Broaddus once worked for the Eagles. So
there you go.
Let's not forget that. But okay. So the Giants and the Panthers both walk away with tackles in both mocks. So that puts us back on the clock at 7. Do you want to tell me, for the Giants, obviously, do you want to go first? I went first last time, so maybe you should here.
I have them taking Kayvon Thibodeau, who it seems like there's some smoke that he could fall. I think
there was a report actually on Monday that he might fall, and the Cowboys are keeping tabs on that, and they might trade up. The Cowboys, if they included their second round pick by way of the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, they could get up maybe to 14. So you'd have to fall a little bit longer of a ways.
But I feel like that's interesting. The Ravens pick, I feel like they might just take him at that point. I feel like that's a kind of a Ravens pick they would make instead of trading out. But in any case.
Jordan Davis is going to be a Raven. Like, by the way, like that's super obvious.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, unless maybe let's say again, Thibodeau is there, but yeah, I could see Jordan Davis easily going to 14. But for the Giants to be able to get a kind of foundational left tackle or a right tackle, whatever, offensive tackle for them, and then also to improve the trenches, because for as bad as the offensive line has been, that's always been like the bigger story. I feel like rightfully so with the Giants, but. RJ, when was the last time they had a pass rusher that was like even respectable that you feared? Like Leonard Williams has been obviously has come on as an interior player, but talking about
the 2011 squad. That's who like the Justin Tuck, OC, like it's that whole crew.
Who else is in there that I can't remember?
JPP, and OC. Well, OC I don't think was there in 2011.
OC and who else?
Michael Strahan was in 07.
Kiwi.
Now you're digging way in. But yeah, like even just like over, like we're talking edge rushers, and this like Thibodeau was the pick, but like even defensive players. Like I was never afraid of Landon Collins.
No.
Like they haven't had a linebacker that like struck fear in me or any sort of corner. Like I never
had, like that one good season in 2016.
I was never like again like Dez had like a beef with him, and so like I was never like into it. Like, but they have not had like. Again, I'm going to stick with the Cowboys theme here. They haven't had a player that has been who Micah Parsons is, or even anything close in the since Michael Strahan. Is that fair to say?
I guess, yeah. Anything they had, maybe a one season wonder, but not much more than that.
Wow. That's depressing for Giants fans. But okay, that's a good pick. Obviously, he was unavailable for me because he went to the other New York team, the Jets, Jets, to give the chant. These two teams, it should always be said, tied for the least amount of wins in the NFL.
Are we ever going to see some separation there?
I don't know. I don't really know. You're more of an East Coast person, obviously. Is that like a real rivalry? Like, do the Giants and Jets, like, is that like a thing? Is it... Like, and I truly don't know. Like, do like Yankees and Mets fans hate each other? Like, do Knicks and Nets fans? Like, is that like a real big divide?
I think Yankees and Mets was bigger, the Subway Series, as it's called, than because the Giants and Jets just don't play obviously very often. They play in the
Snoopy
preseason
Bowl
every year.
Snoopy Bowl.
I don't even know what that is.
That's I believe the origin of that is the MetLife company. Like, I think Snoopy's a part of their branding, so they call it the Snoopy Bowl because it's MetLife Stadium.
I don't really think there's a whole lot to that. The way I think of it is kind of it's like an enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situation. So like Eagles fans and Jets fans can agree that the Giants suck.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Both gangrenes. Anyway, for me, I was debating here between Derek Stingley and Kyle Hamilton because I could not take Kayvon Thibodeau, obviously. And I know what Ed said as well. I factored, obviously, the quadcast and our discussions into my picks. I went with Kyle Hamilton. I understand positional value. I understand blah, 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 whatever. He's awesome. He's a baller. He's a stud. He's arguably the best player in the draft. And I think that the Giants are going to not overthink things, and that would really suck. I like my mock for them more than I like yours, honestly, which means I prefer yours to be reality. And like that gives them, and I don't believe in like people say like, oh, they need to draft like a face of the franchise. Like I don't believe in that at all. But Kyle Hamilton can become like the face of their defense, and they are lacking. For lack of a better way to put it, they're lacking people to put on the media guide. You know what I mean? And Kyle Hamilton turns into one of those players like right away. The future all of a sudden looks a lot brighter for New York in a lot of different ways.
I think it's pretty hard for them to go wrong. Like the only way they could go wrong, I feel like, is if they somehow like traded up, like if they package this or something. Like no, like stay put, make your picks at the very least. Obviously, I think the ideal situation, like we talked about, is them getting a 2023 pick somehow. Obviously, ideally a first and a move back. I mean, maybe again they trade back. I don't think it would be as good for what we've talked about the Saints trade. Like I think you don't really want that as much as you want a future pick. But if they did and they moved back to 16 or whatever, 16 and 19, like okay, then all of a sudden they have 3 first-round picks to work with, and they could. So it's hard for them to go wrong. Is my thinking.
I don't think there's like a Cleveland Farrell sitting out there like that like that
I
mistake
mean,
isn't
maybe if
for them.
Trayvon Walker falls to them, maybe that wouldn't be. Like I think because I feel like he and I don't know. I don't have like the strongest take on Trayvon Walker because he's out of the Eagles range, but I feel like maybe he could kind of be like a Solomon Thomas, maybe kind of being like a little bit overrated. But I don't even know that he's going to get it to number 5, so I don't even know if they have to worry about that.
The first receiver in the mock I did went to Atlanta at number 8, Garrett Wilson. Who did they take for you?
So at 8, the Falcons made the same pick, and that is the first wide receiver off the board.
Charles Cross went to Seattle, and Trevor Penning went to the Jets for me.
Interesting. For me, it was Malik Willis. And to be clear here, folks, in the case I didn't make it clear, or RJ, like the non-NFC East picks here are simulated. Again, I just want to stress that we didn't pick this. But Malik Willis goes off the board to Seattle, Russ's replacement. Wow, he must have some strong feelings about that. And then Derek Stingley going to the Jets.
I asked DeMarcus Ware about Russell Wilson in the interview.
Oh man,
I did not do the impersonation.
Oh, wow, you coward! You coward!
It's just sometimes there's a time and a place, and for me the time is now, and it's really always been now. Now is a state of being, and the place is here. The place is in Denver, mile high. Let's ride.
How good would that have been if you just did like a 15-minute interview, whatever you did with him, and then 10 minutes into it, you just changed your voice without any kind of warning, and you just went into that bit. Oh, man, that'd be great.
I'm having like a panic attack even just thinking about doing that. But anyway, okay, so
he's just looking at you like, what is going on?
Who did the Jets take for you?
Stingley, Derek Stingley.
Okay. So he went. No, he's still on the board, or was still on the board for me. So now we're on the clock with Washington. Again, number of different directions that they could go. But again, factoring in what Stabby said, factoring in the team, factoring in what they've done this offseason, factoring in the fact that Terry McLaurin still doesn't have a deal, it felt like they have to get a wide receiver. And again, like, we laugh at Carson Wentz, but do everything you can to help him out. Like that's the boat you're in right now. Like you made this bet, so you might as well lie in it. I took Drake London. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Give him a star opposite of Terry McLaurin. And on paper, that offense is not the worst in the NFL. I mean, you've got Carson Wentz, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, who hated the Bills. Like, what a loser move, by the way, like to choose the Commanders over the Bills. Logan Thomas, if that ever works itself out, and then a defense that seemingly should regress back towards the mean this year. Like, that's not the worst place to be.
So Drake London, despite being a bigger guy, kind of works on the slot a lot. And maybe Washington could see him as like their new Zach Ertz, kind of obviously a different position like not exactly, it's a wide receiver to tight end, but like that bigger guy who can kind of be an underneath target. I think maybe that's what they could be thinking there. Should be noted that Todd McShay, in a post for Monday on ESPN Plus, he wrote about like things he's hearing around the league, and he connected Drake London to Washington. Also, Chris Olave could be a little Buckeyes pairing there in Landover, Maryland. And Drake London doesn't really scare me, honestly. Like I would prefer Washington to take him because I think there's some kind of like bust potential there, or at least I think he might not be anything overly stellar. Chris Olave scares me a little bit more just because I feel like even if he might be like a little limited and he might be something of a one-trick pony. I mean,
higher
that
floor.
One-trick, is valuable. Like he can get deep in Carson Wentz, again, for all his faults, and he will overthrow people deep. I've seen it, but like he does have a strong arm. So in theory, if this guy is blazing down the field, maybe there's some, potential for big plays there. So I think they kind of just really like have to go receiver at this pick. Again, we've talked about how they just have nothing.
So you took Olave.
So I made a pick for them, but I did not take that because I will say I think they have to go receiver unless there isn't like obvious player that falls to them instead that probably shouldn't be there at number 11. And I went with Kyle Hamilton here just because I was between this and receiver, but I was like, I just don't think you can pass on him because I think there's a chance he doesn't even make it to that pick. And obviously you lose. They parted ways with Landon Collins, right? Where's Landon Collins now? Or is he still there?
Open market.
Okay. Wow. Still just floating out there. Not a good player. Anyway, so I think that's a nice pick for them in terms of like an organization that has a lot of bad culture, but I think he could be like a good culture guy for them, and actually maybe like a real leader and not like a fake tough guy, kind of like Landon Collins. So I think that'd be a solid pick by them. It doesn't help, again, their big need for a receiver, but if he's there, I think it's tough for them to pass on him. Like Stingley is another guy I think could be interesting at that spot in terms of like they could really use, a star kind of corner. But I just feel like I said to Stabby last week, if Stingley goes to Washington, I have like no confidence in that working out. There's too many red flags in his profile for me to feel like Washington is going to be the team that like hits on him.
Well, and like their risks that they have taken, Washington, and I use the word risks very widely, have not worked out. Darius Geis, Bryce Love, different situations, different risks. But you know what I mean? Like they have yet to take somebody that has these like, man, is it going to work in the NFL cases and seen it actually work in the NFL?
Right.
So I agree. And that was
Ravens. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That exact logic was why I took him to the Giants. Like at a certain point, it's just like, he's the best player. We just make it work. Like we're not going to turn this down, whatever, et cetera. So that sucks. So we both have Kyle Hamilton winding up in the NFC East. You have him in Washington. I have him in New York. I would prefer him in Washington, if I'm being honest, because I would, I think that they would hinder his ceiling and his growth and his potential more. So hopefully, again, I'm liking your mock as far as reality more. Derek Stingley was an option, as mentioned. He went to Minnesota for me at 12.
Yeah, that's a very popular pick.
Right.
You see that in every mock.
Jermaine Johnson went to the Texans at 13, and Jordan Davis went to the Ravens at 14. Again, it's a classic Ravens thing. Like, and then like if this were to happen, all of the grades on Friday morning would be like the Ravens killed the draft. The Ravens, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it would just be like freaking out, et cetera. So that takes us to the Philadelphia Eagles at 15. Well, hold up. Who did the Ravens take for you? Texans and Ravens take for you?
Well, the Vikings took Jordan Davis in mine at number 12.
So he's wearing purple one way or the other.
There you go. Devastated because I would really like Jordan Davis to fall to the Eagles. Not the end of the world, depending on who else they get, but like that's a blow. I would, in my perfect situation, the Eagles get Jordan Davis and Jameson Williams. So then Drake London comes off the board at number 13 to the Texans. Zion Johnson, a popular Dallas Cowboys target, is kind of a little bit earlier than expected, I think, off the board here at number 14 to the Ravens, leaving the Eagles with the guy I wanted if I couldn't get Jordan Davis, and that is one Jameson Williams. RJ, I don't know if you saw this, but there was another little tidbit in that Todd McShay piece that said like the Eagles' preference reportedly, and take that for what it's worth. There's a lot of smoke out there, but reportedly their preference is Jameson Williams. And I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like they've tried to get a receiver this offseason and they failed, and they went to the Alabama well last year. I think it did well for them. And with Jameson Williams, like this guy is a no doubt about it top 10 pick if he doesn't have the ACL tear. And I don't know if you saw this as well, but like I think his camp kind of posted a video of him jogging and running around. Like he looks pretty good. Like he looks like this idea that I talked about this with Jimmy Kempsey and BZN Radio. We did our 7-round mocks, and I believe I had Jameson Williams as my first pick here as well. And I was just like, this idea he's going to miss the whole rookie season. Like, where's that coming from? Like Landon Dickerson had an ACL tear late in December, I believe, last year, and he was like ready to play by week 2. And that doesn't mean that's the norm, and every player will be like that. But the idea he's going to like have to even be on the PUP list. He might not even have to be on that. He might miss like 3 games, whatever. Like, who cares? That has no bearing on my pick here. Especially the Eagles aren't like all in to win this year. They can afford a player to miss 3 games. I think Jameson Williams is a really good bet.
I hate that I agree with every word you said.
I would be scared if Washington got him.
I would be too. It would be interesting to talk about this next week if he went to Washington and then the Eagles took Drake London, just to kind of hear your as I fight off a sneeze. Hear your kind of like
sadness.
All right, I did it. Oh my god.
Nice. Are you okay?
I survived. That was an intense sneeze. Got my eyes to water. It's because I'm allergic to crab, and we're talking about the Eagles. But anyway, crab too. We were just talking about the Ravens. And I don't know if you know, Baltimore's got great crab.
I was going to say, I wonder how many people like don't know about like Baltimore like being like a big crab place. Like just that. I mean, I said it now, but I was like, you're just gonna like let that go over.
I hate those like bets, like when. Like, I don't know, Baltimore would play when they played the Niners in the Super Bowl, and it was like the mayor has 10 pounds of crab like wagered on the Super. It's like, okay, like
have you ever heard of crab fries?
No, that sounds awesome though. What is that?
So it's actually there isn't any crab involved, at least here in Philly, but there's a place called Chickies and Pete's where it's just like cheese fries, but they sprinkle like a healthy dose of a Old Bay seasoning on there.
Dude, that sounds legit.
Yeah, the fry, and they're like a crinkle cut, and the fries mixed with like the melty. It's not like like just melted sliced cheese. It's like a cheese sauce, like a saucy, like again, it's like a white kind of cheese, and the seasoning. I think they're great.
I think any kind of fry is really good, generally.
Sure.
Like, you know how Burger King has those chicken fries? They're like chicken tenders and fries. Like, those are awesome. Like, you do anything in fries, I'm all about it. Different thing, but just near the subject. Have you ever had Cousin's Maine Lobster? I imagine you have. Like,
no.
But the like food truck, you know what I'm talking about? It's on Shark Tank. It was on Shark Tank, and it was like, I think they were 2 cousins, and they like developed a food truck, and they like sell lobster rolls. And they had one at the apartment complex my wife and I lived at a long time ago, and we went and tried it, and holy crap, it was sick. But I first saw it on Shark Tank. So
the lobster roll that's what you got?
Yeah. No, the like the business, the Cousin's Maine Lobster, and Barbara invested in it, and so then it became like, again, it's mostly like an East Coast thing. I think they're from like Boston or like that neck of the woods. And so
that's where lobster comes from. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's a food truck, and they sell it hot and cold. But you must eat a lot of lobster rolls, hot or cold. What's your preference?
I don't really. I mean, I haven't had a ton of them. I know there's different ways to do it, hot and cold too. I feel like the hot one gets a certain, like one gets like butter, the other one gets mayo or whatever. Like there's like a difference between the sauces and I don't know. I'm not like the biggest seafood guy. I kind of pick my spots with seafood. I don't just love everything across the board. Lobster, I've had it. I think it's fine, but it always comes back to why would I be eating this when I can eat pizza instead?
You ever hear that joke when you're like 6 years old? Like, I'm on a seafood diet. I see food, I eat it.
Well, I remember the little middle school thing where like do you like seafood, and then you would like stick really disgustingly the food that you're chewing at lunch like out of your mouth at your friends. And like, see food. So
my like joke was really clever. Yours was really disgusting.
I didn't do that, to be clear. I'm saying that I had that done to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't grow up around the right people. Let's just say that. Well. Anyway, getting back to this, I took Jameson Williams for the Eagles, and I was really bummed about it.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it is. It's the first pick that we're in lockstep agreement on, by the way, right? And some of that is the circumstance of it all, like the simulations were different. But yeah, I mean, this is a solid pick. I would be nervous about this. He'd be the best receiver on the Eagles roster right away because number 2 would be Jalen Reagor, number 3 would be Devontae Smith.
Jalen Reagor, who sounds like he might actually get traded, or I mean, I would hope. I mean, I don't know for what. By the way, we didn't mention Kadarius Toney. That's something to watch.
Oh, dude, that is.
The guy you said was like the second best receiver in the class last year, totally not mentioning Jalen Waddle.
I said that partly to troll.
Yeah, but Jalen Waddle.
It was Yeah. So pretty funny back at Area Center. Okay. The New Orleans Saints took Chris Olave at 16 for me. How about you?
Just what a disaster, by the way, though. Like the trade down was really good for the Giants last year. Obviously, Gettleman did a great
Dude.
job with
I
that,
mean,
but just like to pick Kadarius Toney because you missed out on Devontae Smith and you had to get a receiver. And I think Toney is talented, but like there's so
it's
many
just
red flags with him.
but some of that is like, this sounds weird. Some of it's not the Giants' problem. Like their culture's broken. Like it was not a wise pick in that sense. Like, like they were not going to be the place that he could flourish.
But there's a
So
lot of loser energy coming from him. Like he won't even attend like voluntary stuff. Like that was an issue last year too. Like there's just like too many things where it's like this is not the guy. Like, he's just not locked in. He clearly is not like locked in. And maybe again the Giants deserve some blame, but there's some issues on his end as well.
I wonder, by the way, how many times a team has like picked up a future first in a trade like the Giants did, and it wound up being inside the top 10. So the Giants
can't be too often.
But the Giants did it and the Seahawks did it, right?
The Patriots did it at one point.
And the Dolphins did it by way of the Texans pick, the Tunsil pick, and everything like that.
Right.
But so interesting perspective for all the like future firsts that are potentially being dealt. So I do think the Eagles have the best chances of having that next year. But anyway, so who did New Orleans take for you at 16? I took Chris Olave on my end.
Last thing I'll say about Jameson Williams, that's one of the few players that gets me really like excited. Like there's a bunch of players in this range that the Eagles could take and it's like fine or like good pick, whatever. But Jameson Williams is exciting. But at number 16, the second quarterback goes off the board. Desmond Ridder goes to New Orleans above, Kenny Pickett.
Okay. All right. So New Orleans, this was the original Colts pick, correct? That went to Philly, that went to New Orleans? Okay.
And it'd be interesting for Eagles fans to be rooting against Desmond Ridder.
It would. The Chargers took Devontae Wyatt on my end at 17.
Okay. Jermaine Johnson falls to number 17. Someone I strongly considered at number 15 could be in play. I don't think he's going to fall this far, but we'll see.
So that takes us to 18 in the Eagles, and I was a little bit stuck here. Like the Jameson Williams thing was really obvious. It was really like, okay, this is an easy dot to connect. I don't know, like maybe you won't like this, but I just kind of thought like what makes sense, like what's high floor, what's a solid bet. So I took Trent McDuffie. I feel like solid pick for the Eagles. You strengthen your secondary, so you've built up your receiver room, your secondary room. You're in a weird spot as a franchise overall, but I think this is the best step to take, assuming you can't trade out again.
I think the Eagles, when it comes to the question of like, should they trade up or trade down? It's really both. They should trade up ideally for a little bit from 15 to get Jordan Davis or Jameson Williams to make sure you don't get sniped for those kind of players. You should also probably trade down for number 18 because, like, to your point, I think that's speaking to kind of where the talent kind of just dips off and you're not really feeling super stoked about anyone at that pick. So it wouldn't be the worst thing if they stayed there, but it's not like you're not excited about it. And I just feel like there's probably better value in moving down. And I think it's relevant. And I was talking again about this with Jimmy on BGN Radio, but you look at the Steelers there at number 20. And maybe they want to move up a couple picks because maybe the Saints don't take a quarterback at 16 and they're worried about them getting one at 19 or some other team kind of sniping the Steelers at 19. So I think there's a potential trade opportunity for the Eagles to move back, if not with Pittsburgh, with some team. I think Peter King had them moving back to the Packers at number 22. So I think there will be an opportunity for the Eagles to move back, even if just slightly. I had them taking Trent McDuffie as well. I had them taking Karlaftis in the mock I did for BGN. I didn't want to do that again, even though he was still on the board, just because that's kind of boring from a content perspective and me just doing the same exact thing and talking about the same exact points. With McDuffie, I'm not thrilled about it. I think cornerback is obviously it's a big hole on the Eagles roster because it's Darius Slay. And can you name the other starting quarterback?
No.
There isn't one. I mean, he's in the slot, but like if you're talking about outside, it could be Zach McPherson, who showed some promise, but was like a 4th-round pick last year. And the Eagles have a bunch of just like day 3 kind of young players that they seem to be kind of excited about. I tend to think they might be able to work through that and maybe adding a pick later, just because in Jonathan Gannon's defense, you're asking, these are cover 2 corners who aren't like asked to be, play like man, and they don't have the toughest assignments. And their safeties are playing like 50 yards behind them anyway. So it's like they're not just out there on an island. So I don't necessarily love it from a resources standpoint. I think it's a fine pick. Should mention here that Trent McDuffie is actually Dane Brugler's number 2 cornerback which is interesting, just behind Ahmad Gardner in his rankings. A lot of people have talked about how he's like a clean prospect. Didn't really have like, the playmaking. Only had 2 interceptions at Washington, 10 passes defense. He did have 3 forced fumbles, but I'm not thrilled about it at all. But I think he can be a starter, so it's fine.
I think this is the best pick. I mean, I don't think you're like quite making lemonade out of lemons. Like it's not like the world is ending here sort of situation. It just this speaks to the class. Like there's only like a dozen or so, Baker's dozen, whatever, like true first round grades that you can hand out. So anybody else, you're kind of like, whatever. I think in this is a reason why, if you're an Eagles fan, first of all, sucks. But you should be rooting against New Orleans to draft a quarterback first, because you want this to be that pivot point for the second quarterback to come off the board. So that's one, level of interest here. Other than that, I mean, cool. Good for you, Eagles. I mean, I was going to say this too. You made me think of it. Who did Sauce Gardner go to in your mock? The
Texans
Giants,
at 3.
the Texans. Okay. I am already saying this now, and I realize this is not like a, whoa, like I'm the first person to say this. It is going to be so annoying on Friday, whatever team that drafts him. Like the Sauce stuff is going to be, they're going to beat it to death right away. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to ruin it right away. Like it will take less than 24 hours for it to get old.
What's the best team he could go to in terms of like marketing for Sauce?
Texas barbecue sauce. So Texans works
Houston.
Out. Yeah. Because what other condiment has the word sauce in its name? Barbecue sauce is the only one.
The last thing,
maybe tomatillo sauce, but also like a southern Texas, like near the border type of thing.
The last thing I'll say about the Eagles is that I believe, even though they did get the 2023 first round pick from the Saints, and they got the 2024 second round pick, I think, right? They're not done. Like they need to get, because we've talked about at length all those other teams that have first round picks next year. I still believe at some point in this draft, it doesn't ideally it would be another first, but like that's not realistic to expect that. Ideally, they still need to pick up another first, or not another pick in a future year. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2023, I think, but either in 2023 or 2024, they need an extra pick at some point.
Okay, so that takes us, we have the Cowboys left, and I have the Dallas Cowboys pre-draft press conference to get to. So just so everybody knows how the sausage is made, that's when we're recording this. They're about to be speaking shortly, so, chop, chop, BLG. Okay. The 5 picks between the Eagles and the Cowboys, for me, my simulation, New Orleans did take a quarterback. It was not Desmond Ridder. It was Malik Willis for me. Pittsburgh took Desmond Ridder, so there go 2 quarterbacks, which I'm fine with. Push other players down the board. Super awesome. Happy to see. New England took Devin Lloyd. Green Bay took George Karlaftis, not a wide receiver. A lot of people think that's happening. And Arizona took Kaiir Elam. So what were the 5 picks for you?
So similar, but it's Trevor Penning to the Saints at number 19. They fill a hole at left tackle there. Kenny Pickett stays in Pittsburgh. You can imagine.
Oh, man. Did you know that they work out at the same facility? Wow.
Yeah.
How cool.
Things you would get tired of. Kenny Pickett staying in Pittsburgh would be really on brand. I feel like that's
Dan, it would be like they didn't draft Dan Marino in 1983. So they made sure to get the Panther this time around.
I feel like
Pitt is such a lame name for a school, by the way. Like, it's so lazy. Like just like Pitt. Like think of like any other state that like abbreviated it or like shortened itself as the name of a school. Like I know that Cal goes by Cal, but it's like California University, right? Like what is
there's multiple ones, right?
Yeah, so it's not just like Cal, and even Cal sounds like Pitt. It sounds gross. Like imagine
especially when you're saying it like that.
If a Florida school was like floor. Like Florida means flower in Spanish. Like that'd be kind of cool actually, but like Pitt, like it just sounds gross, dude. It's so whatever. But okay, so Kenny Pickett goes to this.
They're gonna stuff some fries in Kenny Pickett's helmet and draft him. That's a little Permante's joke.
Permante's is awesome. Pittsburgh is so much better than Philly.
This is a terrible take. I've had it, and I wanted it to be good. I was excited, but the fries weren't even good.
I loved when I went to Pittsburgh for the Cowboys-Steelers game in 2016. Awesome. Like, great sports town, great sports vibe. This was November, so obviously didn't go to a game, but PNC Park, I'm going to just, like, say best baseball park in America.
It's really cool. All the bridges and stuff in the background. Yeah.
The banks of the 3 rivers. See, like, what does Philly have? It has
it's
nothing
only 2
like that.
Rivers.
Like, Pittsburgh is the best city in Pennsylvania.
It's 2 rivers. Anyway, Chris Olave at 21 to the Patriots. We have Karlaftis also to the Packers like you did, and then also Elam to the Cardinals. So that leaves us at the Cowboys pick at number 24.
So the options for me that I seriously considered, Zion Johnson was gone, not gone for me.
Gone for me.
No,
yeah.
he was. No,
I don't think he was for you. He was
no,
gone for me.
he's not gone.
Ravens.
So you're right. I debated between Zion, who I did not pick, obviously, Kenyon Green, and Traylon Burks. Those are my three sort of situations. I prefer Kenyon Green to Zion Johnson. Like if I have the option, I'm taking Kenyon Green. It's really a decision for me between Kenyon Green and Traylon Burks or Chris Olave. Like, so it's like a choose your own adventure. Do you want the adventure beginning with a guard or do you want the adventure beginning with a receiver? And the value is better at receiver. Like, you're going to get a much better value, overall if you take the receiver at 24 and then, draft Jamari Sawyer or whatever at 56 and get your guard there. But dude, they have to get guard. Yeah. They have to. They have not addressed it. They have and Cowboys fans love to hate on Connor Williams. They're going to miss him. They literally miss him. They're literally trying to fill the void that he left in free agency. He was a starter for 4 years. I know that he had penalties and whatnot, blah, 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 but he was a very solid player for them. And so I went Kenyon Green. It sucked to pass on Traylon Burks, but that's where I'm at.
Also took Kenyon Green. I just think the place the Cowboys are in, and you look at like historical bust rates at certain positions, I think there's more volatility with receiver, especially in a class where there's like not a consensus. There's kind of like, a lot of split opinions on these guys. And I think just getting a surefire, it's a guard, so it's not like the most premium pick, but still like you're later in the first round. That's not the biggest deal. I'll go back to what I said last year. If the Cowboys are going to be undone, I think it's going to be more about their offensive line than their receiver situation. Like suddenly, like they have enough at receiver with Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb.
I disagree that they have enough. Like,
they have enough to like, not that they're stacked, but they have enough. Like they don't have to pick a receiver. Is my point.
I think they're like they will take a receiver in the top 100. Like I would bet
that's fine, but like they don't have to take one in the first round. Is the point?
I don't know. I mean,
they can. But I think it's better I think it would be more prudent to take the offensive lineman, go with kind of your meat and potatoes kind of draft, straightforward, eat your vegetables kind of draft, as opposed to like the icing on a cake, which is more, maybe satisfying, more sugary, more sweet, but isn't going to last you, isn't as the sustenance isn't there. I think offensive line is the better way for the Cowboys to go.
So apparently during the team's pre-draft press conference, Stephen Jones just said it's a very middle of the draft, or it's very middle of the draft heavy, and said that it's deep rounds 3 through 5. And I know we didn't trade back again, as mentioned several times in this exercise, but that would be my dream, especially like in my situation where Kenyon Green, Zion Johnson, and Traylon Burks were all available. Move back. 29 with the Chiefs is a popular spot that, like, in all the stuff we've done, like that makes sense, especially if Kansas City, if they value a receiver, and they really don't want to take a chance, move back, pick up an extra top 100 pick. You need those right now and get your other chance in the third round. And then still, you'll very likely still walk. A lot of people, like the Bucks, generally also end up with one of the guards sometimes. But like, you're sure to walk away with somebody who you really like. And even if it's not that, I don't think I'm making certain. George Karlaftis was still on the board for me as well.
Okay.
I'm sorry. He went to Green Bay at 22. But like, I mean, we do a billion mocks, but like, he has been there a lot. So like, if you have some combination of that, like, and I'm fine with any of those picks, especially if you trade back. If you pick up a top 100 pick, I'm down. That would be 2 straight years of moving back for the Cowboys. Obviously moved back with Philly last year. But Kenyon Green is my kind of like, if I have to pick a name that I want, like yours is Jameson Williams, that's where I'm looking to go.
I think it's hard for a lot of these teams, I must feel like, to go wrong. I mean, they can, obviously it's possible, but in terms of like, and obviously, the draft is a crapshoot to some extent, but in terms of making good bets, I think for the most part, except for the Eagles pick at 18, which we didn't really feel strongly about, I think one of those offensive linemen is going to be there for the Cowboys. And if there's not, there's probably going to be a receiver. I guess I could just see receiver being where they go wrong the most, though. I don't think they're going to go wrong with the offensive lineman. I could see them taking the receiver and that receiver not being like the guy. Again,
I will be happy about it. And again, I think the value of it makes sense. It's not as big of a need, but it will upset me more that they have acted the way they have to this point, because I understand not being able to turn down the value that Traylon Burks or Chris Olave would present if they're on the board at 24. But that's like, the Cowboys have generally done a very good job of of addressing holes before the draft, so that if they don't walk away with something, they're not screwed. And they did not do this. They left themselves. They painted themselves into a corner here and have a glaring hole at left guard, and they could still turn around. And like for all again, some of it would be a lot of mocks, and I'm sure you see this too, and I know you're not like focused on the interior offensive lineman, but a lot of mocks have Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson falling out of night one. And then, we mentioned the Friday morning grades. There will be, and we can guarantee you all, on every major network, a segment on Friday morning that are like, these are the players that teams need to be on the phone right now trying to get to the top of the order in the second round to pick. And so, like, if I have to like truly paint a fever dream, it's that Dallas trades back with Kansas City or somebody in the first round, picks up an extra third round pick or something that can then be used as ammunition to move up again on Friday morning, and they can walk away. Again, this is my nirvana with Traylon Burks and one of the two guards that falls. That would be a pretty huge win for them. I think that's possible, but it is like everything else, contingent upon things falling their way.
Yeah, I think that's a realistic best case scenario. Just like you could say, I don't think it's likely that the Eagles get both Jordan Davis and Jamison Williams, but it's conceivable. It could happen. Like, it's not like out of the realm of possibility. So yeah, those are the kind of the best case scenarios that we'd be rooting for.
All right, Brandon. That means this time next week we will have the definitive draft grades for the NFC East.
Wow.
How does that make you feel?
Very exciting. I am excited.
Okay, we talked food. We talked NFL. Last thing, I watched The Batman last weekend. Not bad. I really thought it was going to suck, and it was not bad. So
I want to see it. I was thinking about mooching off someone's HBO Max if someone wants to give me. No, don't actually do that. I'll figure out a way to watch it at some point. I want to see it. I do like the concept of, at least I don't really know a ton about it. I haven't read a ton of the reviews, but some of the things I've heard in passing are that it's more like kind of mystery based. And I like that idea. I like the idea of a superhero movie kind of taking it in different directions. Like, because I think a lot of people just think superhero movie, so it's action. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be more mystery based or even horror based or whatever.
This sounds dumb because I've never seen Sin City, but and I was talking to our great friend, the Whiskey Influencer, about this. It had like Sin City vibes. Like,
where's my invite, by the way? The Whiskey Influencer.
Hey,
I gotta. Why am I even not been invited to be on the? I mean, he did last week when I infiltrated your.
That's all
thing.
I'll say.
Anyway.
Batman is, by the way, the official superhero of the NFC East because I am Batman here. You were the Joker. Which
I like how people call Batman detective. I like that.
So I'm Batman. You're the Joker. Before we leave, Ed and Stabby are who? Stabby's the Riddler. Like, very easily the Riddler.
Wow. So DC. So that leaves what for Ed? Ed is maybe Penguin.
Yeah, kind of soft-spoken, but calculated in what he says.
A little bit older, that. Not like the only thing, but I think that's yeah.
Okay, all right. So that makes Blogging the Boys my Batmobile because it's my vehicle. You know what I mean? So you got to get a purple suit. That's your assignment for next week's NFC East Mixtape. If you want to see BLG wear a purple suit on the NFC East Mixtape, tweet at us. He is on Twitter at Brandon Gowton. I am at RJ Ochoa. If at least 5 people tweet at us and use the hashtag
I'm not agreeing to this.
Purple Mixtape. So hashtag Purple Mixtape. BLG will wear a purple suit next week. 5 tweets. That's all it takes. He swears.
The worst time of year, like the busiest time of year for me to like go out and find like.
He said it. He'll do it. Color. He told me.
Never said it.
5 tweets and he will wear a purple suit like the Joker that he is. Hashtag Purple.
I wish
Mixtape.
I had a purple suit, to be clear, but
Brandon. The final words, however many you want, belong to you. Send us home, my man.
Everyone, we appreciate you listening. The draft is here. It's exciting. We would appreciate if you not only left a rating and review, that's all good, but also, why not tell a friend about the NFC Mixtape? It doesn't have to be a fan of the same team that you root for. It could be, like an Eagles fan friend or a Giants fan friend, whatever you know. Just tell someone, spread the word by word of mouth, and we appreciate it.
Sincerely, BLG and Hot Fry.